Together we are but first coffee. Susie's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions. If not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand, this is a safe place to land. Please understand, you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Susie welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and Susie.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. I haven't been gone but for about an hour, and here we are back. I wanted to pop Joel's comment up first off because he and I are on the same page. Joel says, "Hello, I am hopeful that this goes well. I am apprehensive about it, but we will see. I will keep an open mind and hope for the best." That's all we can ask for, Joel. Absolutely all we can ask for. And that's what I want to. I do not have a political agenda at all with this live. I want to look at it from a humanitarian perspective. And I am actually going to go back to some of my newspaper days to where I am going to just present the facts. Now, I am going to say a couple of things that are my opinions before we get started, but once we get started, it's going to be pure facts. And even my opinions are not partisan. So, because I really, to be honest, don't have one that's partisan right now. So, or not really. So, anyway, I really just want us to be able to talk about these important things that do affect our country and our citizens and our image worldwide and everything. And I just want to be able to talk about those. And this is kind of a hot topic at the moment, but I really think that it's a good one. I think it is a good one for us to start out talking about. I really do. So I am going to, again, lean heavy on facts. I'm going to give definitions of things so that whenever people that maybe they don't know, there's no shame in not knowing something. So when you're watching the news telecasts and everything on these raids and that kind of thing, if you hear things that you don't know what that means or what the law is on that, or just what the hell are they talking about, kind of a thing, this is what tonight's going to be. I just kind of want to come in and say, this is what they're talking about when they say this. This is what led to that. And so, anyway, that's kind of where I'm going to come from a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I do have just a little bit of an intro I'm going to read or say. I've got notes, but I'm going to rely heavy on the notes because we saw in the last live that I did that my little one card was not sufficient. So I did grab me a coffee and, tried to get myself a little more set up for this one. So I apologize for being a little airheadish on the last live, but oh well, I'm human. So I just wanted to say, hello to everybody. I am laughing though, if you see me kind of chuckle. I was trying to Joel had put a message up saying what I just read. And I was trying to answer him and all I said was I think it'll be fine and fingers crossed, right? And YouTube rejected it. It says YouTube rejected your comment. This usually thinks means that they think it's spam. Try changing it a bit. I ought to be able to comment on my own channel, you'd think, but it does that to me all the time. It's constantly about once a week. Seriously, it will reject my comment. No cuss words, nothing. All I said was, I think it'll be fine. Fingers crossed, you know? So, anyway, wasn't a flipping finger or nothing. I wrote fingers crossed. So, anyway, so I just want to say hello to everybody, to our chat, our lurkers, our replay crew. And again, just like last time, we're going to try this again. Even the trolls, y'all, to some degree, even the trolls, because with a community as awesome as this one, even the trolliest of trolls have to just make up lies and alternate reality crap to just not fall in love with this place, right? So eventually we'll win them over anyway. I do have a shirt that says I need new haters. The old ones are starting to like me. So in this channel, we do have really just one official rule. That is, do not be a pee-pee stick. And I think you can probably figure out what that means. We do try to stay away from politics, except for tonight. I'm jumping right off into it. But again, not in a partisan way. This is in a humanitarian sort of way. And we do try to stay away from religion, except for if you're a culty religion, and then Katie bar the door, we are coming for you. So I have said, and I will say it again, that there are two things that I absolutely loved about the lifeboat. The first one and the most important one was the community. A lot of that community has found its way over to our community, and I absolutely love that. And I welcome anybody else that wants to come over. I know that he is officially supposedly changing the name and direction of the channel. And so anybody that needs a place to go, you're welcome here. You really, truly are. We will try to keep this a good and safe place. The other thing that I liked about the lifeboat was how he had the trophy for wins, and they could be something small or they could be something large. And, as we said earlier, Mischief got the trophy tonight for convincing me to go to the doctor the other day, but she also, she didn't get everything she wanted. She didn't want me to do 2 shows today, but she did get the trophy for getting me to go to the doctor. So now that doesn't mean that the rest of you can't get a little trophy wave too, y'all. And it does say survive or thrive, not just survive, and but first coffee. And it has stars because you all are the stars in this show. Absolutely. So if you have a win, it can be big or small. You got a new job. You're celebrating, a month, a year, a decade, whatever of sobriety, whatever it is, let us know and we will wave the little trophy at you just because you deserve it. So, oh, well, there's Poppy. So, yeah, we now have a beautiful community here that includes some of the lifeboats community, which makes me happy. And we have our own trophy. What we don't have is the lies, the cons, or the questionable snorts off to the side. So, yeah, don't have to worry about those. So now I'm going to check in just real quick with our chat. I'm trying to kind of give that algorithm a chance to send out those notifications and let anybody that dares come on in. I promise we are going to keep this nonpartisan and for the most part non-political. We're just going to talk about the facts of it. And of course, I'm going to have to mention a president or two, but not in an either or a bash or praise. Does that make sense? It's just facts. We're just going to talk about facts. So, but I do want to check in with the chat real quick and then we're going to get started. Joel, again, so good to see you. Thank you so much for being a member. Eileen Bradley, very good to see you too. Mayor, I know you're going to have to go get popping out in a little bit. You're going to have to let us know in our little mod chat later what it is you're going to pick up because I'm nosy. Yes, Mischief. She's with Joel. She's hoping that it can stay good too. I keep telling her that, I think that we can all be adults. But if we can't, I'm gonna hit end stream. So, if the screen suddenly ends or the stream suddenly ends, you will know that I'm just like, "Screw it. This is not working out how I planned." Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. You trust me on this? Yeah, I think I can, as long as the chat just works with me. That's what I need. Is I need for the chat to also not get political with it. So if you do, we're gonna time you out or whatever we have to do. If it gets too bad, we will end the stream. So I don't think it will. I really don't. I think once you see the direction that I'm trying to take with this, you'll understand how I'm trying to do it. And I think that it'll just be a learning experience. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it is. Mayor says, I think it's more difficult with both the US and Canada with our borders. It's a bit easy for people to cross. Yeah, it is. It does. It makes it a lot harder. But it's kind of the same with European countries. They're all so mushed together that the people just, go from one to another. So Eileen says most countries do have raids, but most do adhere to due process from beginning to end. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So that is on the list to talk about. Can John have a welding trophy? Yes, John. You get a trophy for welding and just for being a great guy and a great dad and a great husband. So, anyway, the Journey 2020 says random fact, fun random fact. Flipping the bird comes from live theater. Forget the century. Crows would hiss like a goose and boo, hence giving you the bird. That's cool. That is cool. Eileen, I think that it'll be fine, honestly. I hope you didn't already leave. We're just gonna really be very, diligent on anything that looks like it could stir other people up, okay? We don't think you said anything wrong. We're just saying, yeah, the truth is the truth. It is, and we're gonna talk about it. Oh, the crowds, not the crows. Okay, so hey, John, good to see you. Both Johns, actually. I say that and then I'm like, oh. So, anyway, we are going to get started. Mischief is in the back office. She's going to be um, starring some comments, but I'm serious. We are going to make this a non-political political discussion. How's that? Nonpartisan kind of a deal. Okay. So, anyway, I know y'all that we try very hard to stay out of politics on this channel. This is kind of my little beginning of the end kind of conversation here, like little laying down the rules, okay? So, but I believe as adults that we can, no, actually, that we must be able to talk about things that affect our country and our citizens. Tonight, I want to discuss the recent ICE raids in LA. And y'all, I'm going to say this with all respect, but I'm also being very serious. If this turns into a political debate, I'll burn this bitch down, aka I'll kill the stream. So, as a YouTuber, I do give my I do give facts, but I also do give my opinion on things. But as a journalist, I did facts only, unless I was doing an editorial, and then that would be my opinion. But I like to think that I base my opinion on facts. So, you know, of course, I always think my opinion's right. Not really. I know sometimes it's not. I'm just like everybody else. I've got my own biases and everything. And that's why I'm going to really try to keep opinion out of this and just go with facts. So tonight, this is journalist Susie, except y'all got to remember I'm a print journalist where I can edit, delete, throw it out, start over 100 times if I need to. I'm not an on screen version, and that's what I'm going to have to try to do tonight. So I am going to rely heavily on my notes. But before I slip into my professional mode, I do not intend, this is my opinion part, y'all. I do not intend for this to be a slam or a praise Trump or any president, party, anything. Okay. That's not what this is going to be about. I want us to remember that these are humans. And to me, this is a humanitarian issue. I know we have the legal and political sides to it, but it's also a humanitarian issue because we are dealing with humans. I will share facts to help us understand what is being reported and what's not being reported. I will be trying to correct some misleading reports that I know that have been out there, or even some things that they have reported wrong. Like things that happened, but they reported it wrong, or they've regurgitated facts, basically. And a lot of what I'm going to go on is based on sources that I have in LA because I have a lot of family and friends that live right in LA. And so I'm getting phone calls and messages and texts and everything from people that they're not watching it on the news. They're watching it in real time. They're watching it on the streets. They're seeing what's happening. And so a lot of it I'm going to talk about from there. Again, in a non political way. Now, as for my opinion, I think there have been big mistakes made, but I also don't think that two wrongs make a right. And I think that at times that this whole ordeal has been a giant clusterfuck, to be perfectly honest. But I don't really see it as a political issue. And the reason that I say that, there's a fly driving me nuts. But the reason that I say that is that ICE is a governmental agency. They're not a political party. And they've made mistakes. But that happens anytime that you put humans in charge of things. Also happens when you put computers in charge of things, to be perfectly honest. But then at the same time, aren't humans still at least a little bit in charge of the computers? But anyway, you get the point. We must allow for legal immigration, but we also must control illegal immigration, which is part of our Constitution. As for the Constitution, we are held to the 5th and 14th Amendments, and especially regarding due process, which we will discuss. And you know what? Even if we did not have that guiding us, we have basic humanity, y'all. And we should just try to not be pee-pee sticks. Even when we're having to do uncomfortable things, even when we're having to deport people, we can still do it with respect. And I think that that's been kind of lacking with ICE or with certain people in the agency. So y'all please comment, discuss, ask questions, and let's just be adults. And let's look at this from a position of love, respect, and the Constitution. And guess what, y'all? The Constitution is not Democrat or Republican. The Constitution is American. And so that's where I'm at tonight, is I'm here as an American. And I want to discuss what's going on and what needs to change, what went wrong, what went right. Because it's not just one or the other. It has been a cluster. And I just want to set some some records straight. I've got, that's what I did with the newspaper. It's what I won awards for, even though a certain troll likes to say that I'm the what is it, the penny or the, thrifty penny or thrifty pickle, I don't know, something. I don't thrifty nickel reporter or something. No. I was a award-winning legal newspaper for a decade. I won awards the first year that I owned the paper. I know how to do this, and y'all just please try to give me a chance to do it. Please try to let me show you that I can make this a non-political discussion. Will we get a little bit like, ooh, maybe get a toe stepped on or something? Maybe, but that's not the intent. I just wanna talk about it, and I wanna correct some wrongs. And that fly, ugh. We have got flies and gnats really bad right now. We have, like, those fly strips hanging everywhere. It's just gross. So, again, I'm gonna stick with my notes. So even though it might sound a little bit repetitive on a couple of things. So, but remember, again, let's try to not get too political, please, because I mean it. They will time you out on my orders. So, I am gonna try to keep this as politics free as I can, but I absolutely know that the ICE raids are a political minefield. But with your help, we're going to look at this from a humanitarian viewpoint. I have a couple of stats that are important, or I wouldn't include them, but I'm presenting those in a nonpartisan manner. They will have to do with presidents and how many people they have deported in their time as president. So that's why I say that. This is a historical situation, and that is far more important to me than the politics of all of this. I've spent days and nights researching this, and I hope to employ my journalism skills or expertise, as it were, to stay politically neutral or as much as I possibly can. Please do feel free to comment or ask questions, but we can't tolerate any political debate, so don't even try to start one because we're not going to wait till it turns into a debate. We're going to boot you as soon as it starts. So, I'm trying to think. I'm going to go ahead. I think first of all, before I go into this is kind of a little bit off of what I was first going to do. I did go ahead at the last moment and found what the presidential order was. Okay. And when, oh, that fly, you guys. Okay. Proclamation. I'm going to see if I can hold on. There has to be a, well, that didn't work. Hold on. Sorry. I guess it's not going to let me do it on full screen if I do it this way. So, okay. I'm just going to try to get through this. Well, okay. It's not wanting to. Here we go. Proclamation 10888. In late January, this is not the actual proclamation, y'all. It's worded in such a way that this is the breakdown of it. Okay. You can go and look it up. It's there. But this tells you what we need to know for tonight. In late January of 2025, Trump signed Proclamation 10888, a sweeping executive directive that classified undocumented immigration as an invasion under the Constitution. It authorized DHS and ICE to suspend asylum processes, expand expedited removal, and enact aggressive enforcement against undocumented individuals already in the U.S. Okay. Prioritized ICE operations via new administration exit strategy. Under his second administration, Trump appointed a border czar, Tom Homan, and redirected ICE to target undocumented immigrants in Democratic run sanctuary cities like Los Angeles. To be fair, just so nobody says, up, most sanctuary, I think all sanctuary cities are Democratic run. So that, don't quote me on it, but if they're not all, they are, it is very close to all. So, like Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, these operations are meant to step up raids in urban areas. Okay, and I say that because you all know that I'm a Democrat. You all know that I'm not a Trump fan. So what I'm saying here is that I'm putting that aside and I'm going to show you what the facts are, basically. Okay, 3, expand detention and deportations order, which was June 16th. So the first part was in January. On June 16th, Trump publicly ordered ICE to expand efforts to detain and deport undocumented immigrants across major Democratic cities. He framed these cities as supporting illegal voting and focusing on immigration enforcement rather than on urban decay. Now, I'm not saying if he's right or wrong on that. This is just how he framed it. So there's that one. I'm going to get the rest of it. It would be nice if my finger did what I was trying to get. Okay, 4, temporary raids, moratorium in certain sectors. In response to backlash from agriculture and hospitality sectors, the administration paused ICE raids in farms, hotels, and related industries while maintaining aggressive enforcement elsewhere. Summary: how this all ties together. This all stems from the legal strategy thrust forward by these orders. Define undocumented immigrations as an emergency invasion, grant broad federal powers to ICE for accelerated enforcement. 3, direct ICE to focus on sanctuary cities while minimizing economic disruption in key industries. And 4, deploy raids backed by military and National Guard support when protests flare. Okay? So that's what the order was. That's what it was supposed to do. Now, I'm going to go back to my notes. So what happened? Okay? Now remember that was in January. Now on the 16th of June, which was just a couple days ago, well, today actually, I was thinking that today was the 18th for some reason. So as of today, he has ordered them to kind of chill a little bit on things in the hotels, restaurants, farms, that kind of thing, hospitality and agricultural, because they are really afraid that that while people are being detained and either deported or found to be legal and released, that it will disrupt those industries, which can put a major strain on our economics. So that's what that means. So anyway, so what happened? Beginning June 6th and 7th of 2025, a coordinated workplace and public area raids by ICE were executed in Los Angeles and surrounding counties. Now, targets included low-wage job sites like car washes, specifically one named Westchester Hand Wash that's near LAX, and Home Depot parking lots, fashion district warehouses, churches, homeless shelters, any lower income kind of places, which would have also at that point included farms, restaurants, hotels, that kind of thing. As of the 16th, those have been scaled back. But as of today, but I don't know when you're going to be watching this. So, anyway, they were to employ military style tactics. Agents struck in unmarked vehicles, sometimes without warrants or wearing any kind of visible ID. And it was often described as paramilitary. It was frightening. And let's just put it that way. I get it. I think that that would be frightening whether you're here illegally or not. I just to see that kind of thing happen, like cars, trucks or whatever roll up and people jump out with guns and stuff would just be scary. So, anyway, I guess that was an opinion, but you know what I mean. So, the biggest problem being who is being detained. Estimates range from 44 on June 6th to over 100 by June 9th. The issue is legal immigrants and non-criminal workers are being detained. And reports indicate that there have been about this was as of yesterday around a little over 300 people detained. So, I wanted to state that because I'm hearing on different news reports that thousands of people are being detained, hundreds of people are being deported, and that's simply it's just not true. And so I did want to go about that. Now, as for the issue that there are legal immigrants that are being detained, that is true. That is absolutely true. And it was supposed to be focusing mostly on illegal immigrants that were doing something wrong, that were in trouble, criminals and stuff. And so they don't know what they're doing when they roll up on a parking lot and just start grabbing people, right? They don't have warrants or anything. Again, this is ICE, okay? This is not the president. I would be saying the exact same thing if the president were a Democrat. It's not the president. That's ICE. So, I was unable at this point, and I'm sure that those numbers, will come out eventually, but so far I have not been able to, and I looked just a little while ago to find a number of any wrongly detained. So, like, was there 2 that were wrongly detained or were there 200, I don't know yet. And those numbers will eventually come out, but right now I don't have those. So, also a major concern, this was probably my biggest concern, is the conditions in which the detainees are being housed. Because a lot of these detainees are also children, some of which are sick, some of which the adults are sick. I'm not against necessarily, and again, I guess this is an opinion. Constitutionally, we can't just let everybody in. So that's with the Constitution. So I'm not going to go against that. That's our Constitution. But we can plan for this. This was not something that was like an emergency situation that had to happen that day. This has been in the works since January. ICE dropped the ball and was not prepared. That's my problem. They're in basements and offices with minimal food, water, hygiene, and with limited legal access. And keep in mind, some of these are children or the elderly and people who are here legally, even born here. Now, how do I know that to be a fact? Because I have a good friend whose uncle was one of them, is still detained. I will be talking to him once he is no longer detained. He is here legally, has been here legally for about 45 years. So, does that mean that everybody that's getting detained is here illegally? No, absolutely not. But it's happening, and that's what I'm saying is ICE needs to slow their roll a little bit, and let's get this right. Let's do it right. So, uh, oh, I forgot that. So, of course, there's been fallout and a community response. And as often happens, it started out peacefully. Police were on hand to monitor and protect the peace, but as ICE became more involved and more protesters descended on the Westlake Fashion District and downtown LA, demonstrators clashed with police and ICE, and ICE used tear gas and flashbangs and rubber bullets to stem the unrest, it just went from bad to worse, or actually it went from okay to terrible. And in fact, Mayor Bass imposed a curfew on downtown LA, and hundreds of people were arrested for having broke curfew. So, where they're getting this hundreds of people, that's mostly people that broke curfew, not people that were detained and, are up for being deported. These could be white people, black people, brown people, I don't care. It's anybody. It doesn't matter. If they broke curfew, they were arrested. So, what also occurred were numerous citizens trying to get home were prevented from entering their homes because they weren't allowed to pass or cross police lines right outside their apartments. I saw this firsthand on a report. There was a woman that was trying to make her way to her apartment, and the ICE officers, oh my god, agents were standing in front of her apartment buildings, not just hers, but in front of the where she would go into the entrance of the apartment buildings. And she was trying to tell them that I live back there. Yeah, I live behind you. I'm trying to go home. She's trying to make curfew, okay? Well, they kept yelling at her, and they eventually shot her with rubber bullets, and she was injured and bleeding. That can't happen. That's not political. That's a bad cop, whether it's a cop or an ICE agent. That's a bad cop. That's not a Democrat, and that's not a Republican. Yeah, they kept threatening to shoot her as she or they actually, I'm sorry. There was another woman that walked up and was recording it. So that's who I saw, how we saw the video of it was this other woman was recording as it happened and saying, "Oh my god, they're going to shoot her. They're going to shoot her." And they did. And then she was trying to help that woman because she was bleeding and crying. And then they were threatening to shoot her. Again, that's a bad cop. So, yeah, I agree, Joe. Trump deployed thousands of National Guard troops and 700 active duty Marines, which was met by pushback from Governor Newsom. I say this only because it's a fact that happened. So, Mayor Karen Bass warned of severe labor shortages across childcare, hospitality, construction, and even in the grocery sectors, which is what led to Trump, making this thing today where he scaled back on those areas. So Governor Gavin Newsom filed a lawsuit challenging the deployment of the National Guard and the Marines and described the actions as unconstitutional. We'll get to that in a minute. Senator Alex Padilla was physically interrupted. That was the actual, like, what they called it. He was physically interrupted at a press conference, and he condemned the raids as indiscriminate. A little side note, and this is like a definition kind of a deal. Randomly detaining people who appear Hispanic or Latino with no warrant does scream basically indiscriminate. So there is that part. Okay. So what does physically interrupted at a press conference mean? Because I wondered that too. I was like, because I didn't see that one. I was like, I didn't see what happened. I wanted to know what happened. So I do have that slide, or I have a little slide that tells about that. Okay, so what went down? Oh, my nose, y'all. Tissue. Oh. So Padilla interrupted Secretary Noam. Okay, that she's with the she's the Secretary of ICE. So, around 6 minutes into her June 12th briefing at the Wilshire Federal Building in LA, Padilla attempted to ask questions about the harsh immigration enforcement unfolding in the city. He identified himself at the lectern. He went up to the podium where people could go to ask questions, and he identified himself as an actual senator. There was some question about that, but apparently that is on video that he did do that. I am Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary. So, Secret Service and FBI agents stepped in. Here we go again, right? Security officers reportedly believing that he was an attacker pushed him out of the room. He struggled briefly, saying, "Hands off," before being led into a hallway. He was forced face down and cuffed. After being escorted into the hallway, 3 agents pushed him to the ground and handcuffed him behind his back. He was quickly released when they figured out who the hell he was and was not formally arrested. So, anyway, so yeah, pretend for a moment. Well, first of all, this is a senator who identified himself as such. But let's just say it was Mischief or Joel or Brooke or anybody, okay? And you walked up to the podium at a press conference that you were able to ask questions at, and you identified yourself and you said, "I have questions about this." Imagine being grabbed and led out, pulled out of the room and then shoved to the ground and handcuffed. That is not that's not right. That's bullying. That's bad policing. It's a humanitarian nightmare. The fact that it happened to a senator is insulting, but the fact that it happens to anybody is insulting. And so, and yes, I am giving some opinions, but I'm trying to very much qualify them and why I have that opinion. So, okay. Oh, that fly. I wish Mark would come in here and bring a fly swatter. So, there's a glare. DHS and Secret Service, it described his actions as disrespectful political theater. Claimed he hadn't immediately identified himself and physically resisted. Yeah, it raised alarm because but the video shows that he did immediately say who he was and why he was standing there. So, his side, of course, is completely different. He says he went up there and that he, did all that. So, there's a lot of shit going down with that, y'all. And I just want you to just think about it from just a humanitarian. Yeah, shoe fly, don't bother me. It is driving me nuts. It truly is. So, okay, Joel, the one that I saw did show that, but I will look at the video again because the video I saw did show that. But I am only as good as what I see. So, not perfect by any, but regardless. So let's just for a moment say that he was disruptive. It's still not. It's just not. That's not how we should be. So anyway, why it matters is because there's fear in the immigrant communities is rising. It's affecting daily life and availability. I will talk right in a minute. It has use of military troops in a sanctuary city without governor's consent has triggered lawsuits. Reflects a shift toward broad enforcement goals like $3,000 or or 3,000 arrests per day. Yeah, they've got goals at doing at least 3,000 a day, moving beyond targeting criminal records. Yeah, alone. Okay, industries reliant on immigrant labor are facing real shortages from construction to household services. Yeah. So there's all of that. I'm just trying to build a little bit of what's going on this. And I am going to go look at that again because the video that I looked at showed what I saw. Of course, we shall see. Okay. I got a piece of skin on my lip there. Okay, so what is the border impact or the broader impact? I'm sorry. Protests have spread nationwide, y'all. Cities like New York, Seattle, San Antonio, Chicago, and Kansas City are showing solidarity with LA, and rising awareness nationwide is, it's raising awareness nationwide. So there's social media activism. Organizations like Sherla and Union de Barrio set up real time alert networks on social media to warn immigrant communities, emphasizing bilingual communications and privacy. Now, again, I want y'all to understand that whenever I'm telling you these facts, that doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with them. You know, I I'm not against protests. I'm truly not. I'm against loitering and that kind of stuff every single time. I'm never going to think that that's okay. So whenever I tell you about protests, I'm only going by just where they have said that there have protests going. I'm not going by, oh yeah, I will look at the raw video. Yeah. Yeah, not all good or bad. Yeah, that's fine. So the social media activism, the organizations, that are putting out these warnings, telling people when ICE is around and all that. I don't really know if I like that or not. I don't like the whole idea of helping people break the law, you know? So, you know, if you're warning people, you're also warning people that are criminals. And I'm not just talking about because they're here illegally, you know? I'm talking about criminals, which is who we're supposed to be picking up. So if you're warning people, you could be warning them too. Yeah. And that's again, I have a little star on this one. Immigrant communities does not across the board mean illegal immigrants. Legal immigrants live in these communities as well. So yeah, when you are sending out these warnings, you can be warning good people, but you can be warning bad people too. And that's what I mean by that. Okay, so we're going to show why it matters. That's not it. Oh, I guess I just read that one in advance. Okay, never mind. We already read that. So, what is happening now? ICE raids continue in LA and surrounding areas. Homeland Security Secretary Noam reaffirmed intent to liberate the city and maintain enforcement operations despite widespread criticism. ICE is pursuing a goal of 3,000 daily arrests, and National Guard and Marines remain in active support roles. Okay. So I had several people that actually asked me, what does it actually mean to liberate a city? So I did find that. Again, this is going to go back to where I was saying I want to just present you with the facts so that you know what they're talking about when they're saying things like liberate a city or a sanctuary city or looting and all these things. I want you to know, okay, what that means, kind of a deal. So the literal meaning, according to officials, are to liberate LA. LA has been used as by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and echoed by surrogates to suggest cracking down on lawlessness, targeting okay, targeting what they frame as a breakdown of law and order due to LA's sanctuary city status. So they're basically saying that they can do this because it has become lawless, basically. And so um, they think that, and I don't mean they think. I'm just saying that they're interpreting it that that would give them the right to ignore the sanctuary city status. So ending so-called open borders chaos. Okay, portraying LA as a hub for undocumented immigration where federal law isn't respected. So they're wanting to stop that. Okay, basically they want to stop this. Reassessing federal authority, overriding local protections like sanctuary policies, and asserting the federal government's power to enforce immigration law unimpeded. Okay. Okay, so restoring control, using the enforcement and military like tactics to obtain large numbers of undocumented individual or to detain, sorry, large numbers of undocumented individuals in defiance of state or local resistance. Okay? So that's what the literal whenever Secretary Noam says that they plan to liberate LA, that's what they mean. They they want to temporarily override the sanctuary city status. They they think that it has become lawless and that that gives them the right to do that. They want to end the so-called open border chaos. They want to um, reassert federal authority over LA and not where the city itself basically is its own authority. And they want to restore control. Okay. So the symbolic meaning to liberate LA is it's a propaganda style phrase. Again, not partisan. Both parties use this. So it is echoing military languages, suggesting that LA is occupied or lost and needs to be taken back like a war zone. Okay. Dog whistling by conservative base. If it was the other way around, it could be the Democratic base. But if you're talking about a sanctuary city, it's going to be conservative base. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. So, painting liberal cities as corrupt, chaotic, and un American. Okay, demonizing immigration and officials, especially city leaders like Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom. Okay, so signaling culture war, rhetoric, blah, blah, blah. So you get it. Basically, it it goes back and forth. It changes with who's in power and what the situation is. But yeah, what they're wanting to do is they are wanting to take back control of LA and to temporarily set aside their sanctuary city status. So that's basically it. So basically, as a summary, the ICE raids are continuing at workplaces and public locations backed by federal troops. So that's what is scaring a lot of people though, is all those federal troops, which I think is pretty scary too. And they're supposed to, I mean, honestly, they're supposed to be there just for if the rioting gets out of hand. So protests do continue nightly, mostly peaceful, but with pockets of confrontation. Looting has been limited but present. Authorities are prosecuting incidences aggressively, which is good. They need to. They need to arrest every single one that they can get a hold of and throw the book at them because they make a mockery of our right to protest. The curfew is still active in key downtown areas enforced by police, the National Guard, and the Marines. Okay. It has become a little bit of a humanitarian nightmare. And this is where I'm going to go into some of these little things. Hold on. Did I not do that? I guess I didn't. I'm sorry. Okay. What is it? Let's go back to what is a sanctuary city. Yeah, I totally just scooted right over it. So I do want to talk about, don't let me forget, Mischief, like wag a finger at me or something, because I do want to talk about the looting just a second before I move on past this one. Okay, so what is a sanctuary city? A sanctuary city is not lawless or immigrant only place, okay? It refers to a city or county or state. It can, you know, that has policies designated to protect undocumented immigrants from deportation in certain situations, prevent local police or city officials from acting as federal or immigration agents, and to focus local law enforcement on local crimes, not immigration statutes, okay? So basically, it doesn't mean that they could just go there and just they never have to leave. So it doesn't mean that illegal immigrants can just like go to LA and they're just like there forever. They don't ever have to leave. What it means is it slows down the process of getting rid of them, basically. And you can look up the full deal. Yeah, circle back to looting. I will. What does LA do or not do? It does not honor ICE detainers without a warrant. Yeah, they LA, because they are a sanctuary city, says that if ICE is going to detain people, that they need to have a warrant. They need to be coming for specific people or specific places, and not just willy-nilly, not just like see somebody and pull over and get them. So it requires a judge signed warrant, not just an ICE request. It does not allow LAPD to inquire about immigration status or during routine stops or arrests. So, like if you're in a sanctuary city and you're back, like let's say you're Mexican and you get pulled over for speeding, they are not allowed to say, "Are you here legally?" Which to me, if you don't have a driver's license, you are probably not here legally. But okay, they can't specifically ask you that. Or like, what is your status? Because I mean, you might be here technically illegally, but you are working on, you're going through the process of being being legal. So you're not actually illegal anymore. You're just working on the process. But you got to be working on it. You can't just be like, "Oh yeah, I'll get to it." So, okay. It would be nice if I could just read it. It bans city funds from being used to assist federal immigration enforcement. So, like, they're not supposed to be able to like the LAPD cannot assist ICE or the military in these, detainees. They can't assist them because it is a sanctuary city. So that's kind of it. And why do sanctuary policies exist? Boy, there's a lot of arguments on that kind of thing. But it encourages immigrants, documented or not, to report crimes without fear. And it helps build trust between communities and law enforcement. And it avoids racial profiling and civil rights violations. That's what it's supposed to do. None of which is a bad thing. Even if you are here illegally, if somebody commits a crime against you, you should still be able to report that crime. Think about think about it from a Scientology situation. Some of those people in there are here illegally. Even if it's because their visas have expired, that's still here illegally. And they should be able to report crimes that are committed against them without being afraid of being deported. So that's kind of what that means. It's not just it's real easy to just say, well, it's this, this, and this, but it's really not. So we just have to kind of Yeah. So why is it controversial? Opponents claim sanctuary cities let dangerous criminals stay in the country through those studies show immigrants I cannot talk. Immigrants commit fewer crimes on average, probably because 'cause they're afraid of getting caught, to be perfectly honest. I mean, seriously, it may totally be because they don't wanna get caught and deported. Okay, it interferes with federal law enforcement. It creates political flashpoints, which is what we're trying to avoid tonight, correct? So, like in the LA ICE raids now underway. So the Trump era DHS and supporters see sanctuary cities as obstacles to mass deportation goals, which is why they refer to LA as needing to be liberated. So that's why they think it is because the um the Trump era, you know, DHS and supporters see it as an obstacle. It is keeping them from doing their job. And so it needs to be kind of overridden, kind of, liberated or overridden. Okay. So, legal backing California law supports sanctuary practices. It limits how much local police can work with ICE. The Trust Act bans local police from holding people solely for ICE without a warrant. So, like, they can't just like round up a bunch of Mexicans and hold on to them and wait for ICE to get there. Okay. The bottom line, calling LA a sanctuary city means locals officials try to protect immigrants from unnecessary deportation, limit collaboration with ICE, and prioritize local community safety over immigration enforcement. That's wording it pretty clear. I'll read it again. Local officials try to protect immigrants from unnecessary deportation, limit collaboration with ICE, and prioritize local community safety over immigration enforcement. It does not mean LA ignores the law. It means the city chooses who enforces what and how. So it's basically taking the federal end of it out of the city and leaving it up to the city, is how that kind of works. So, okay, six, I think. Yeah. Let me move these away because the next ones are pretty interesting. Sorry. The Mark and Veta are playing in the other room and they're loud. So if y'all hear them, I'm sorry. It's distracting to me. I keep getting distracted. He didn't know I was going to have this show. I forgot to tell him I had one at 8. So kind of my mistake. Okay, I'm taking those off so that I can actually put some more because it'll only let us have 8 things on my deal, so okay, I wanted to circle back to the looting. Okay, here's another thing that has been proven. I got a couple other things I'm gonna prove or, tell you that were proven too. This has happened many times before, Mischief and I were talking about it. I am, or was a part of the where did I get the information? Several Google searches and, watching a lot of videotape and, um, mostly Google. Yeah, because I was looking up, um, what things mean and how, that kind of thing, when I was looking up those kind of things. And, I also looked up a couple of things on Chat whatever that is, I don't use it enough to know what it's called, GPT. I usually just make pictures with it, but I did look up a couple of things on there, but mostly Google and a lot of video. Oh, who? Well, it depends, y'all. I'm gonna have to say it depends on which one you're talking about. So anyway, um, But most of what I've got on here is just, like, very easily Googled. Okay, back to the looting thing. I knew I had it somewhere. Okay. But I do wanna say that what has happened before is happening again in LA. Um, the media is using in some not all, but in some situations, they are using old footage of past, um, protests or looting, you know, because there have actually been like, one of my friends who lives right there in LA, right down where it's happening, said that they saw on TV, so this is like, I'm getting this firsthand from a person that is living that lives there, and said that the news media was showing these protests or these lootings, and the looters were looting a store that is no longer operational and has not been for about 5 years, I think she said. So, I do want to say that happens some. It's lazy and it's wrong. It is bad enough. The looting is absolutely horrific. I will never agree with that. Like I said, it makes a mockery of our right to protest, our constitutional right to protest, and I don't like that at all. So, anyway, I already went through this part, so I'm going to go into the looting and vandalism. Incidents reported some looting and vandalism has occurred, especially targeting storefronts around the 6th and Broadway and area and within the curfew zone. The scope. These instances are limited, with most protests not linked to loading or to loitering. Yeah. Most of the protests, if you even watch some of the ones that protest Scientology that are in on some of these ICE, they're covering some of these ICE protests right now. Most of them are just people standing around or walking around or doing line dances or, whatever, talking, eating, all this stuff. But you're always gonna have those few that are troublemakers and absolutely have to run it for everybody. And so, yes, that has happened. But it is not quite as dramatic as some people would have it look. So, the legal response, local officials, including Mayor Bass, have condemned looting, highlighting the stricter prosecution under new state policies and stating such acts don't reflect the immigrant community. That's another thing that is true. Yeah. Yeah. Jessica Palmadesa, uh, William Good, they're showing a lot of that it is not near I mean, of course they're not going to hang around where it's looting, but they really, it just pisses me off that's all that gets shown. My point being is that we need to show, as the media, okay? We need to show the peaceful protesting too. I know that it's what they call sexier. It sells more newspapers or whatever, to show all the looting and the violence and all that. But shouldn't we show both sides? Like, shouldn't we show the people that are trying to do it right? And that the majority of the ones that are looting are not the immigrant community. It's a bunch of thugs. A lot of who don't even live there. They've just come in because they can. Happened in Tulsa when we had a Black Lives Matter. People came in that did not live here, didn't have anything to do with Tulsa or with Black Lives Matter or with anything. And they came in and they shut down a freaking highway. I mean, I think it's three or four lanes on each side, which is like our biggest one in Tulsa. I know it's nothing for some places, but they shut the damn thing down. And it didn't have anything to do with what was going on, and that's what this is what's annoying with these damn looters and with the press who are only showing one side. Thank you, Mischief, for showing Jessica's channel. So, is she streaming now? She has been streaming just about every day, so she may be now. But anyway, the curfew is in effect. It is 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. across a 1-mile downtown radius covering Chinatown, Little Tokyo, the Fashion District, and the Arts District. The curfew is tied to the ongoing raids and troop presence. I'm all for that. I think that that's the smartest thing they've done. Um, I really do. I was gonna say something. There was something right here that I saw. Hmm. Yeah, it'll come back to me. Okay, on the next one, I do have a little thing that is called Stories That Matter. And I did want to read these. So, the key human first takeaways. Okay. Oh, good. She's live now. Good. ICE raids have impacted every region, not isolated to border areas. Protests followed across both red and blue states, many peaceful, some tense. Okay. U.S. citizens and children, even those with serious illness, have been wrongfully detained and even deported. Federal authorities have increasingly used military assets in response to public backlash. And a lot of this is coming from ICE. They are making admissions as they go along and they find out who their, you know, where their weak points have been. So, okay, I'm going to talk about these three people. Now, before I start with this one, there was absolute outrage. I had so many of my friends, especially my liberal friends, um, come to me and be like, "You've got to just be absolutely furious. This 4-year-old child was deported. She's got cancer, blah, blah, blah." They said she was deported without a parent. You know, you know how it goes, guys. I'm just saying what's being said to me. Um, this is awful. This is awful, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I looked it up. And yes, a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer. It says April 25th of this year. So not June. Okay. So this is the one where I was saying that something happened, but but the information's wrong. So in on April 25th of 2025 in St. Rose, Louisiana, ICE detained a pregnant Honduran mother and her 2 US born children, a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son suffering from stage 4 cancer during a routine check-in. Without legal hearings or counsel, the entire family was deported to Honduras later that day. A federal court later ruled the process lacked any meaningful due process, despite the child's critical medical needs. Okay, yes, this did happen. This comes straight from ICE. ICE admits it happened. So, did not happen in June, happened in April. First of all, was not a 4-year-old girl, it was a boy. Um, was not deported without a parent. It was the whole family was deported to Honduras. They said it was to Mexico and it was to Honduras. So, a lot of the details were wrong. So, I cannot find, and ICE said as of June 8th or 9th that they do not know if if the family has come back. They have not heard anything about the family coming back. Okay. A 2-year-old US citizen. In April 2025, a case emerged involving another 2-year-old US citizen referred to as VML, who was wrongfully deported alongside her mother under similar abrupt circumstances. Documentation indicates no hearings or legal representations were provided before removal. Again, April. This was also said to have been in June. That's how it's getting reported, not necessarily by the media, but it's rumors. And rumors get reported as facts all the time. And so I'm just trying to clear up a few rumors. Okay. A 10-year-old with brain cancer. A 10-year-old US citizen battling brain cancer was detained during an immigration checkpoint encounter, likely southern US, and was subsequently deported with her family despite her dire medical condition. She also has not returned to her or she also returned to her country of origin
Nice.
without due process or legal recourse. So, yeah, none of these 3 have I been able to find anything, and with ICE, according to them, as of, like I said, I can't remember if it's the 9th or something like that, they did not verify if any of these people were back yet. So, that is the humanitarian nightmare that I'm talking about, is the people that are getting sent without due process, because our Constitution does say that in the 5th and 14th Amendments that everybody, whether you're here legally or not, is entitled to due process. So, okay, I'm almost done. Okay, here we go. Well, okay, it did. So, families, including women and young children, were detained with no clear information. One child's mother and older brother were both taken in early June, leaving the child unexpectedly alone. That's not okay. That's a humanitarian nightmare. Closely knit families, like that of Mario Romero, experienced sudden abductions with children left, chained, or escorted away, with families struggled to locate their loved ones. That's not okay. We can take a minute and we can make sure that these children are safe. And just, it doesn't have to be scary. At least one Indonesian mother, age 53, and a man from Zapotec indigenous background were detained. Some were deported within 48 hours without due process. That's the part where they're talking about that this is unconstitutional. And you can make that decision for yourself, but without due process. It doesn't say on our Constitution that if you're here illegally that you don't get due process. It says everybody, regardless of legal status, is entitled to due process. Community response. Families, lawyers, and advocates reported people had been effectively kidnapped. No info, no whereabouts, and no counsel. A massive wave of protests erupted across LA with curfews declared, National Guard and Marines deployed, and over 450 arrests made, including nonviolent demonstrators. Local response included people searching for answers and raising alarms over disappeared family members. I'm going to not be able to pronounce these names, and I used to probably could have. Okay, so I'm just going to say Nancy and Randall went for a routine visit to a downtown ICE office, left separated, family fearful, and without contact. They don't know where they're at. Jacob and Mario, detained in front of loved ones. Families described the event as a kidnapping and demanded due process. Juan Fernando, a 23-year-old Zapotec man, was deported swiftly, leaving deep concern among supporters. All I'm saying on this is, where is the due process? whether we are Democrats or Republicans, we are Americans. And as Americans, we are supposed to honor the Constitution and follow the Constitution. I just don't see that happening a whole lot right now, and it's scary because if they can do it to them, they can do it to us too. And again, I'm not blaming the president for that. I'm not a fan, but I'm not blaming him. He can issue the order, but this is not the president standing on the corner detaining these people. This is ICE doing that. And I'm not even against ICE. So, where's that at? Okay, duh. I was about to say, where is this at? Ugh, I thought I had lost something. Okay, so again, this is one of those times whenever I am going to mention presidents, but everybody's talking about Trump and how many people that he is deporting and how many people he has had deported and everything. And so I've just got some stats on that so that you can see what the numbers say. So Barack Obama from 2009 to 2016 oversaw over 3 million deportations, the highest total in US presidential history, emphasized removing criminal non-citizens and recent unauthorized entrants. So basically if they caught them coming over the border or they were criminals, back they went. Many deportations included people with minor offenses, but policy largely targeted or prioritized criminal convictions. So, yeah, some of it was for minor offenses, but if you were a bad guy, you were going back basically. That's how it's supposed to be set up. George W. Bush, 2001 to 2008, and Bill Clinton, 1993 to 2000. Bush deported about 2 million, Clinton about 2 million to 2.3 million. Also focused on border enforcement, not large scale internal raids. So, again, Donald Trump, first and second term. First term saw 1.2 million deportations. Second term, 2025 and onward. I mean, he's just got started. He's ramped up internal ICE activity. Daily ICE arrests rose from 311 to 710, a 25% increase in detention with a 23%. They can only do percentages because he's only, 6 months in of detainees having no criminal record. Okay. Major expansion in workplace and routine check-in raids. Okay. So 1.2 million, and we don't have a total number for this time because it's just started, so we don't have a number. But I'm gonna say that it's not gonna be another 1.2 million so far. So for all the talk about that he is, just deporting so many people, he's actually the lowest. Okay. So Dwight Eisenhower. I cannot talk. Eisenhower. I can get it right eventually. Okay. This is offensive, but it's what it was called, so I'm gonna say it. So, Operation Wetback, 1954. Massive border and interior deportation targeting Mexican immigrants. Over 1 million people deported, including some U.S. citizens, often forcibly and without due process. Compared to a modern day, I can't see that. Yeah. Anyway, it was brutal, basically. So, yeah. But if you think about this, is that Dwight Eisenhower was not that much below Trump, and there weren't near the immigrant there wasn't near the issue in 1954 that we have today. And so honestly, Trump's been one of the ones that has done less. So, I'm just putting that out there. Even though my liberal friends will be mad at me, but my conservative friends will be mad at other things. So, this is one of those things you can't win. Okay, so where is that one? Oh, it's down here. This is our last one. Yeah, I'm just about done. Modern controversies, citizen deportation and detentions. So, 2, 4, and 10-year-old US citizens, some with cancer, were deported with family, no hearings. That's not right. So, I don't care who you are, what party you're on. That's not right. It's unconstitutional. US adults detained despite valid documents, unconstitutional. Indiscriminate raids, ICE freed from border focused only rule now detains in routine environments like hardware stores and courtrooms. Detentions now include many non-criminals, up to 23% in recent targets. 23% of the people that are being detained right now aren't criminals, other than they may or may not be here legally. That doesn't say it. But they don't have a criminal record. They're not in over here, causing mayhem. Scale of arrests and protests. In February 2025, more arrests than any month in 7 years. Detention centers at capacity with 47,600 inmates. Nationwide protests and National Guard deployment, differentiating in earlier areas. Bottom line, mass deportations aren't new. Again, see Obama and Eisenhower. Eisenhower's going to rank up there in maybe not total numbers, but in scale because, it was less of a problem then. So, you know, breadth of interior enforcement, citizen deportations, and sheer scale of internal raids under Trump are unprecedented. These or this era resembles both a revival of political mass removal programs and a new phase, aggressive, interior focused, and legally fraught. Yeah. So I did have a couple of things that I wanted to bring on here. Um, hmm, that's not it. So what my main question was are these ICE raids unconstitutional? And everything that I could find says no, but it's got some gray area, which is going to put us in some lawsuits. And so, but it is not. They have not literally broken the Constitution so far, is what most um, scholars, I guess, are saying. So, anyway, I hope that y'all can take away that this is a human toll, not a political toll. Regardless of being legal or illegal, these are humans. At least 23% are law abiding citizens or non citizens, but law abiding. Their mothers, their fathers, their children, they're at work or in the Home Depot parking lot loading garden supplies or maybe a swing set. Unmarked vehicles roll up and out jump armed, unidentifiable men. And they just start shoving them into vehicles and handcuffing them. And at least in that moment, Their crime is being brown. Their crime is looking Latin. But while this is happening, y'all, people are terrified. It looks and feels like a gang-related kidnapping. Children, even babies, they're screaming. They just want their moms. They're being tore out of their mom's arms so she can be handcuffed. Really? She was putting flowers in the back of her car. This one is gonna be absolutely my opinion. Sorta. But we are the United fucking States of America. We are better than this. I don't give a fuck who the president is. I would be pissed no matter who it is, because I'm not even really pissed at him. I'm pissed at ICE, and I'm a very big supporter of ICE and law enforcement and our military, of course. Trump may have issued the order, but there needs to be some serious training in humanity to these ICE agents. This was not a national emergency that had to be taken care of on the day that it started. There could have been provisions made. I don't mean warnings. They could have had places set up with food and hygiene, formula, diapers, basic human needs. This willy-nilly, "You look Mexican, so we're gonna shove you in the truck," and the thing is that some of the people doing it are Mexican. It's just not right. I watched a report with Governor Newsom, and he said that the police had a handle on the protest until ICE and the National Guard and the Marines got involved, and that it escalated after that. Now, if that's true, I don't know. That's what he said. He said that their police are trained for this sort of situation. He wasn't even against the troops being deployed, but said, "Can they just stand back and wait and see if it becomes a dangerous situation?" Which is what was supposed to happen. They're not there to police the streets. They're there to stop the looters or, you know, protesters that are violent or whatever. I shame on ICE, and shame on any guard member or Marine or police officer that shoots rubber bullets at a woman who's trying to tell you, "That's my apartment behind you. I'm trying to go home." And shame on the media for using old footage and not correcting false information and only showing unlawful protests. That's not helping anybody. It's making protests look bad. Native Americans here in Oklahoma and elsewhere, they have a saying that no one is illegal on stolen ground. And I wish that people would just remember that this country was actually built on illegal immigration, if you want to look at it that way. But they were given due process. They I'm not talking about like any certain time frame. I'm talking about in the entire history of our country. Due process. We can't let everybody in. We have to get rid of the ones that are here, illegally, and especially if they are breaking laws and causing trouble and everything. Absolutely. I am absolutely for legal immigration. I don't want to let everybody in from anywhere. But I still say that we can at least be humane. Even if it means that we're putting people back out of our country, we can still be humane with it. And so I'm going to go look at some of the starred comments. We don't have very many, so I'm glad, kind of. In Carnisil, they are making it incredibly easy for human traffickers to kidnap people by simply imitating ICE tactics. Exactly. And that's what some people are scared of. They don't know who's ICE and who's not. And let's face it, a lot of these people from Latin countries are used to people rolling up and kidnapping people. That happens in their countries. It's scary. It's a real concern. Jill says, in my opinion, all government agencies have one thing in common: incompetence. For them to mess up is sort of biz as usual. Yeah, sad but true. Nothing with the government is ever well done. That's true. I don't know why that's not. In my opinion, there's a bigger reason I believe this is happening. We are watching the fall of an empire. We have stats that show that we have been on a downfall since 1979, according to economists I trust. Part one. Somehow I didn't get your second part. I'm sorry. Hey, Patty, good to see you. You just rest from bed. Yeah, comment. You can't please everyone on anything. I do not disagree with a lot of what has been said tonight. I spent over 26 years in a management role at a large daily paper. I think that Mischief got bumped out, so I am missing a lot of y'all's second parts. I'm missing some of the comments, and I'm sorry for that. So, I knew this was gonna be a hard one to do. I hope that while I did give my opinion on some things, I hope that I did it in a way that showed where I came to with those opinions, and I still don't see it as a partisan issue. I think that it is bad people doing things.
Hope you enjoyed the show, so glad you were here. We meet here most days, we're but first coffee and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. We're but first coffee and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, said to all